Thank you guys so much. Always wait for the Nirvana. That's my advice for life. Always wait for the Nirvana. Thank you guys so much for coming. Welcome to Awkward Teenage Years. Again, I'm your host, Grant Bowen. We appreciate you being here. By a round of applause, who has been here before to Awkward Teenage Years? Okay, a smattering. Who has not been to Awkward Teenage Years before? All right. Okay. Thank you. I feel good about you guys. This is going to be good. Okay, so to explain, this is a storytelling show. What you're about to hear is a night of true personal teen stories from everyone's middle school and high school years from our lovely lineup of guests here. These are the kind of stories you could expect, things about like taking that driving test, taking that final exam, falling in love for the first time, drinking for the first time, getting into trouble, and most importantly, coming of age. It's the overall theme here at the show. Just a few little bits of housekeeping here. We have restrooms right down the hall over here. If you need to go during the show, do me a favor, wait till I'm up here, okay? We have our lovely storytellers who deserve your time and attention. Disrespect me all you want to, but for them, please give them your time. And also, I don't know if this was mentioned, we do have a show right after us, so at the end of the show, if you're here to see somebody and say hi, just head right out to the sidewalk. They'll come meet you there just so we can turn the place over, all right? Sounds good. Now I'm going to keep rambling to give our latecomers some time to get here. So a little story that I've shared here before. By the time I was 17, I developed the musical taste of a baby boomer because my dad had raised me on all of his favorite bands from the 60s and 70s. And my absolute favorite was Queen. Yes, round of applause, thank you. I love Queen. To me, they're the pinnacle of a great rock band. No two songs sound the same, and yet they have that same epic, large, theatrical sound. I also liked musicals. Did I mention I wasn't cool? But we had a Queen song for just about like every occasion. You know, we'd go to football games and they'd play "We Will Rock You" and "We Are the Champions." My brother and I, my brothers and I, we put on Bohemian Rhapsody and they'd go nuts. And here's the embarrassing scenario. Whenever I felt lonely in high school, I would go out to my car and listen to "Somebody to Love." "Somebody to Love." A song about a man who is clinically depressed. He works hard every day of his life. He comes home, gets down on his knees, and begs God to send him somebody to love. I was an emo kid in denial. If I had been just a little bit cooler, My Chemical Romance was right there. I would have fit it. But by junior year of high school, I was feeling lonely a lot. Like I didn't have a huge circle of friends, and I'd only had one serious relationship with a girlfriend. And that basically blew up in my face because I got so caught up in the emotions of falling in love for the first time that I started acting like an unstable psycho. Like, I love you so much, we should get married. So that didn't work out. And the other sign that I was a lonely kid is that my best friend went to a different school. This was my buddy Trent. We met doing community theater, but he went to high school the next town over. So one day after class let out, I got in my car, drove over to his school, and got to hang out with him and his friends. And this is where I was introduced to Amber. Amber was drop dead gorgeous. She had this beautiful strawberry blonde hair, these bright blue eyes, this sweet smile, and she was a senior, practically a woman. But where we really clicked was that we could just talk to each other. Like we just talked and talked for hours on end about everything. And I didn't feel anxious. I felt really calm and confident. Like I didn't realize this at the time, but it was the closest I had ever felt to being myself around somebody. And so much to my surprise, I asked for her number and she gave it to me. And about a couple of weeks later, I asked her out and she said yes. And I thought, what the fuck am I doing? This girl is way out of my league. She's this gorgeous, stunning ginger goddess, and I'm a hobbit. You know, like what are we gonna do, Mr. Frodo? So the night of the date comes. I go, drive over, I pick her up at her house. I take her to Ruby Tuesdays. It's romantic because there's waiters. But as soon as we sit down, we just start talking again, and every worry I'm feeling just goes away, and I'm not feeling anxious, and I'm not feeling the pressure to be something I'm not. Again, I'm confident. And so we get to the end of the date, drive her home, I walk her to her front door. I don't go in for a kiss because I'm a gentleman and a virgin, but I do tell her, like, hey, look, I had a really good time tonight, and I think we should do this again sometime. And she says, yeah, we should. And so we say goodnight, she goes in, and as I'm walking across her front yard going back to my car, it's everything I can do to not throw a Breakfast Club fist in the air, because I am pumped. I cannot believe how well that went. I'm ecstatic. I get in the car, I turn on the CD player, Queen is already in there. So Somebody to Love immediately starts playing. And I just catch it, I look over at this, and I just think, you know what, screw this, not tonight. And I start flipping through the tracks, trying to find something else to listen to, until suddenly I land on, tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time. It was Don't Stop Me Now, a song about a guy who's gonna go out and have fun, and that's about it for 3 verses. Also, he might be bi, but I didn't catch that. All I knew was that in that moment, nothing felt more right. And so I'm taking off down the street, and I am jamming out to Don't Stop Me Now. I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. I look up, I'm about to drive into a ditch. I swerve just in time to miss it, look at it through the window, cackle like a maniac, high on the thrill of being alive, and I take off into the night. I thought things went so well with Amber on this first date that surely I'm going to get another one, right? And so a couple of days later, I call her up, and we start talking again. And then she says the one thing no teenage boy asking for a date wants to hear. Grant, I think you're a great guy. But I'm about to go to college, and you're still in high school. And just based on that, I just don't see this working out. And I felt fine. I did. I felt okay. She was just being honest. I realized I could just be happy that I could ask someone out, and we could go out and we could have fun, and I could be confident. That was one less reason to feel lonely. And so whenever I felt like going out to my car and listening to Somebody to Love, I knew I could just switch the tracks over to Don't Stop Me Now and pick myself right back up, while keeping my eyes on the road. Thank you. And with that, now we can start the show. Are you guys ready? Beautiful. All right, let me get my obnoxious notes out. Here we go. Okay, our first storyteller. We're excited to have... Oh, everything okay? Oh, we're okay. I got jittery there for a second. Wow. Our first storyteller of the night is a lawyer and a journalist whose stories have been featured on the Story Collider. He lives in Harlem, where he is slowly learning to knit. Please welcome Shawn Musgrave.
So it's May 2003. I am 13 years old. I just finished 7th grade, and it's the start of summer vacation, and I'm in the zone. I'm sitting on a stage at Point Loma Nazarene University, which is a small Bible college near San Diego. I'm a competitive Bible quizzer. And a damn good one. It's my rookie year of teen Bible quizzing, and I've made it to this stage, which is the regional all-star round for the Western United States. And I am one question away from going to nationals in Houston later that summer. These 15 other quizzers on stage with me, they may be my brothers and sisters in Christ. But they're also my competition, because we all want to go to Houston. This is Bible quizzing, Every single one of us are sitting on a little pad, a little buzzer pad. We're not holding buzzers, we're sitting on them. And each time the quizmaster, which is what we call them, asked a question, the first person to pop up gets to answer it. Question number 1 is a general question. Question number 1, question. What village was approximately 2 miles away from Jerusalem? The village of Bethany. This is Bible quizzing. It's not, like, Bible quizzing was not like theology or like the mysteries of the Gospels. We were doing John my rookie year, which is like, it's one of the Gospels. It's the story of Jesus' birth and death and resurrection, miracles, parables in between. But quizzing was like factoids, like little snippets of the Bible, memory verses, little like dumb shit. This was like cutthroat Bible trivia. Question number 10 is an according to question. Question number 10, question. According to John 2:13, when did Jesus go up to Jerusalem? When it was almost time for Passover. Not time for Passover, almost time for Passover. Very important according to John 2:13. And I loved Bible quizzing. For the past couple years, I had done children's Bible quizzing, which was multiple choice in 4th through 6th grades. I would just like obsess over whatever Bible book we were doing that year. We had these weird little boxes that would sit in our laps throughout the entire quiz meet. It was multiple choice cards numbered 1 through 4. We'd hold them up. I got a perfect score almost every time, and I was devastated if I got a single question wrong. So by the time 7th grade came around, I was ready for the big leagues. I was ready for teen Bible quizzing. None of this multiple choice shit. It's just you against not just the other team, but against your teammates to answer the quizmaster's question, be the first one to do it. And so when I got to 7th grade, I was so excited to go to my first Bible quizzing practice. Every week, every Sunday, I would go to church an hour early to just drill the book of John. And we would do a chapter or two every week. There were quiz meets every month or so, which is basically we would just go like compete against other churches in the suburbs of Arizona. And I was obsessed. I got a little copy of just the book of John, standard issue. And I highlighted it in different colors, like Bible verses were one color, like important facts were another. Like I had a CD of the book of John that I would listen to at night on a loop. Like I was obsessed with this. And so I just threw myself in. And I realized that as I started going to quiz meets, that Bible quizzing, like any other sport, had certain like every quizzer had their thing. Like when they got up to answer a question, there were different ways of jumping. Like some people would put the little pad just under like one cheek and would kind of like twitch. Some people had totems. Like this is kind of like people, I don't play baseball, but like people walking up to home plate with like music and a little ritual. Some people had like totems or Beanie Babies, because it was like the early aughts. They just had their things. But I just decided, like, no, I'm going to keep it clean. My thing was just, no side twitch, no totems, no like chewing on my clothes. It was just me and the quizmaster in the zone. Question number 20 is a general question. Question number 20, question. What did Mary use to wipe Jesus' feet? Her hair. That's a real question. And so I threw myself into this. And at my first invitational meet, I realized that not only is it about like finding your thing, but your individual score matters. Because my church, Oro Valley Church of the Nazarene, we're like white bread, evangelical, like aspiring mega church, not a quizzing powerhouse. We are not like Orangewood Church of the Nazarene in Peoria, or the homeschoolers up in Prescott who dominated the team rankings. We came in almost dead last at my invitational, but you also got ranked individually. And in my first invitational meet, I cracked the top 10. Who's this rookie from Oro Valley? And I quickly got on the radar of the elite quizzers of Arizona, including a brother-sister homeschooler duo who would become my arch rivals. Cameron and Jamie from Prescott. And one day at one of these invitational meets, I realized, by this point, I'm the captain of my team, because I'm just taking this so much more seriously than anyone else. And I overhear them talking about what nationals will be like, as if it's a done deal that they're going to nationals. And something inside me snaps. I'm also going to nationals, I've decided, if it's the last thing that I do. And so over the next few months, I kind of figure out, how do you get to nationals? You have to be one of the top ranked people at the final invitational of the season, then you have to go to regionals, and then you have to do this jungle competition against everyone to make it to nationals. So that's what I did. I underlined, I highlighted, I listened to John on the Book of John over and over and over again. I climbed the individual rankings, and at the final invitational meet in this dumb competition against 14 other teenage Christians, I made it to regionals. But it wasn't enough. Because if Jamie and Cameron were going to nationals, so am I. Which is how I made it to this particular stage. I studied for weeks and weeks on end. My team was gone. No one else from my team made it to regionals. No way in hell. It was just me. As we studied for weeks and weeks and weeks on my own, I sailed through the regionals tournament, and here I am, one question away. I'm also one question away from getting disqualified. Because if you get too many wrong, you're out. This next question is going to decide if these months of being a Bible trivia monk were worth it. Question number 40 is a general question. Question number 40, question. Who entered into Judas? Satan. We're going to Houston.
Oh my God. Please tell me this brother-sister duo was like same height, same hair color. Like
Another time.
Another time? Okay. Also, I am from Alabama. I'm from pretty like Bible Belty territory too. You said you listen to the Book of John standard issue. Tell me, NIV, NLT, NIV. Okay, that's what's going on down there. That's what's happening. If you want to know why now, that. One more time for Shawn, everybody. All right, moving right along. Our next storyteller has lived in New York City since 1988. The year I was born. Sorry. I'm sorry. If it entered my head, I had to let it out. Has lived in New York City since 1988 and had a long career in magazine publishing. She lives in the Upper West Side with her wife Liz and her dog Lucky. That's so sweet. Please welcome Maria Baugh.
So, when I was 15, let's say around 1979, I fell in love with New York City. And it was partly because that's when I started to realize I was really starting to dream about working in magazines. But it was also the era. It was Studio 54 and Saturday Night Live and Saturday Night Fever. It was just so cool. Everything here seemed very cool. So one day I came home and announced I had a brainstorm. And I announced this to my beleaguered single working mom that I was going to skip college and just move to New York right after high school. brilliant idea. Save a ton of money, and it's just efficient. I'm just going to get here and just start the whole thing. And so her head exploded in about 47,000 different pieces. And when she pulled herself together, she had a few questions. Because Mom was a first-generation college grad. She was a nursing instructor at the community college in Panama City, Florida, which is where I grew up. And education to her and going to college was, if not the single most important thing, it was up there. It was incredibly important. And it wasn't a negotiation. It wasn't on the table. I would go to college. So she formulated some questions, and one of them was, what are you going to do in New York? And I was like, oh my God, these details. I said, I didn't know, Mom. I want to do what everybody else does. They're going to figure it out when they get there. That's what I'm going to do. I'll figure it out when I get there. The drama, it was high drama at 15. And then the other question, solid questions now that I think of it. What are you going to eat? And how are you going to pay the rent? And I was like, God, buzzkill, really? I'm just, support my dream, just support my dream, please. But I soon realized that, this was an absurd idea. It didn't make any sense at all. And okay, yeah, I'll go to college. But this wasn't enough for Mom. This did not allay her concerns because she did not want me to move to New York ever. And so one day she's talking to her friend Catherine about this, and Catherine said, well, has Maria ever even been to New York? And Mom said, no, she hasn't. And Catherine said, well, you should take her for a visit because, it's one thing to love a place from afar and think you're going to want to live there, but when you get there, you might realize it's a little too intense or a little too big or whatever it may be. And this was also the era of the scary headline, it was like chaos and crime and the city's gone bankrupt and all these things. So Catherine thought this is going to do the trick. Bonus was her son lived in the West Village, and so we could stay at his place if we decided to come visit. So Mom comes in one day and says, we're going to take a trip to New York this coming summer. And I couldn't believe it. I was thrilled. It never even occurred to me to ask to do something like that. It just was beyond my wildest imagination. And then it got better. She said I could bring a friend because Catherine was going to go with her. And so I could bring my friend. And so I asked my friend Linda, who also loved New York. And so for about 3 months, Linda and I just obsessed. We prepared, we planned, the countdown had begun. But I think there was something else going on for me that informed this interest in the city. When I was 10 years old, I was at my grandparents' house watching a baseball game. And it was the Atlanta Braves versus the Los Angeles Dodgers. And this was the game where Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's home run record. This was a huge deal. You can't overstate what a big accomplishment this was. So I'm lying on the floor of the living room, and my grandparents are in another room somewhere. I'm in the room by myself. And Hank Aaron comes up to bat, and he hits the ball. It's going over. He's done it. He's done it. He's done it. And the stadium goes wild. I go wild. I'm up on my knees on the floor. I'm like, oh my God, Hank Aaron. I'm so happy for him. I'm so excited. And in that very moment, right as I'm cheering and freaking out for him, a thought enters my head completely out of the blue. I like girls. It's not boys. I like girls. So I kind of collapsed back onto my feet. And, I don't know what it was about Hank Aaron or baseball. I mean, decades of therapy, we may never know. But that's when it happened. And so I was flipping out because this wasn't an option. It wasn't, it wasn't going to be okay. I was in a pretty dysfunctional family, and it was a seriously, intensely Southern Baptist, heavily religious family. And it just wasn't something that could happen. So I'm just sitting there for a minute, and I'm just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I just sang over and over. And then I'm just like, you know what? You're 10. You don't have to do anything. Just take a minute and put it aside, put it back there, file it away. Don't think about it. See what happens. Let's just see what happens. So years go by, and I try really hard. I go out on dates with boys, and I have boyfriends, and I go to the prom with a boy. And no matter how hard I try, it becomes clear that the heterosexual lifestyle is just not for me. And so, but I also think that, I was starting to recognize that I might belong here. My people were going to be here. And so that was informing this love of New York as well. So the day finally comes, we arrive in the city, and one of the first things I see, two guys holding hands walking down Christopher Street. And I was just like, wow, this is, but I'm not registering anything. This is all super subconscious. It's not something I can talk about or even acknowledge to myself, but I clock it and I put it away. And so, we're here, we're doing all the tourist things. We're going to museums, we're going to a Broadway play, we're going to the Statue of Liberty, we're doing everything. And I'm having a blast. And I remember about halfway through the trip, Mom looks at Catherine and she said, I am exhausted. I just want to go home. And this is exhausting. And Catherine was like, I know. This is just like, oh my God, it's just chaotic and loud and we've got to go home. And I said, you know what? I never want to leave. I love it here. I never want to leave. I found out years later that's when they realized their plan had backfired. But so it's the last day of our trip. And we had gone to the Museum of Natural History. We'd gone through the museum. And we were in the gift shop, and I just said, I'm going to step out and wait for the three of you right outside the door. I just wanted to take in more of the city and just be outside for a minute. So I'm standing there. It's July in New York. It's blazing hot, and I'm looking out over Central Park West, kind of standing up above, the street, and I see a little movement over to the right, and I look over. It is the single most beautiful man I've ever seen in my life. He's probably 6'5". He has a perfect body. He is on roller skates, and he has a boombox. And all he's wearing are little hot pink hot pants. That's it, nothing else. And he is skating, and he's moving, and he's skating, and he is beautiful, and he is free, and he is doing his thing. So I'm watching him come toward me. I'm mesmerized. As he got a little closer, I could hear the music from the boombox. It was the quintessential summer of '79 disco hit, "Good Times" by Chic. So there's a line in that song that goes, "Clams on the half shell and roller skates, roller skates." Well, right when he got in front of me, that line hit, and when they said roller skates, oh my God, he dropped and he did spins and he did twirls. He had a whole dance thing going, and everything fell away. It was just me and him. And he didn't know this, but my world was changed forever. He skated on, but I knew my people were here, and he was my Statue of Liberty, and he's the reason I'm here tonight. Thank you very much.
Oh, I love that story. It's nice when a stranger in hot pink shorts is a happy ending. It's really good. Rare, yes, exactly. I remember my mother was similarly not thrilled about me wanting to come to New York City either. I came up here to pursue my acting career. How's that going? I'm here. But like my aunt would still like come visit New York frequently and see how I'm doing and everything. And I heard from her secondhand that there was one day where my mom was like, well, I'm just hoping that he will, eventually get this New York stuff out of his system and come back home. And my aunt stuck up for me and went, Jenny, read my lips. He's not coming back. One more time for Maria. All right. Let's keep the show going here. Our next storyteller is a storyteller and a writer who's performed at the New Tricks Show at QED, Lower East Side Stories, and several shows hosted by friend of the show, Adam Wade. This Friday, she is hosting her first storytelling show ever, Tiny Stage at Longfellow's Coffee in Mahwah, New Jersey. Great, and tickets are still available, so come talk to her if you want to find out how to get there. Please welcome Lisa Klein.
Oh my gosh, I just saw that picture again. So, I'm 16 years old. I live in suburban New Jersey, and I'm so excited for my first driving lesson. So I go outside to wait for the driving instructor, and he pulls up in a brand new, pristine white Trans Am. Of course, equipped with the extra brake on the passenger side. And as he gets out of the car, he introduces himself and he says, "My name is George Hahalis, but you can call me Uncle George." And so as I'm buckling up, he's like, "Listen, Lisa, I know you. I know all your friends. You've driven before, at least around the block." And I'm like, "Uncle George, I haven't driven before." "Oh, don't worry about it. It'll be fine." It wasn't fine. So I get in the car. I'm driving. My hands are sweating. You can see the marks on the pristine steering wheel. And he takes me on this sort of pseudo highway called Route 208 North. And I'm just there terrified going. And he's like, "You're driving too slow. It's dangerous." So I jam it on the gas. And now I'm driving, and he's like, "You're not holding the lane." So he's reaching over, grabbing the steering wheel, sort of going back and forth on his brake. Consecutively at the same time, he's rolling down his window and chain smoking cigarettes. This feels like forever, and he's like, "Pull over." So we pull over, and I realize that we're at 7-Eleven. And he goes inside. And I'm like, this is so much harder than I thought this was going to be. I had this romantic image that this would be great, and this would be my foray into, getting my freedom. And then I see, and he comes out, and he has the biggest cup of black coffee I've ever seen, and he goes, "I just want you to know, I've never had to take a break like this before, ever." So we go home, and he's like, "Let me talk to your mother." Go inside, and apparently my mother if I had ever been in a childhood accident. And I hadn't been. I just was really nervous and having a hard time. So now my mom takes me out driving. And my mom is very nervous. She's a nervous person as well. And she's like reciting the driver's manual. So she's like, "Lisa, 10 and 2, 10 and 2. And I'm driving and I'm hesitating at the intersections, and she's like, "You need to go with authority." And so all of a sudden I have to make this really sharp left turn by a car wash. So I'm like moving the steering wheel, and that's another thing. They didn't have power steering, so it's like sweat and steer, and I'm going and I'm going and I'm going. And then I lock eyes with this woman, and I realize I've completely overcompensated, and we're about to have a head-on collision. And the woman just looks at me and then just throws her head back in her arms, and it's like she's just embracing going into the light. So we have our moment, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And so I turn to the right, and my mother's like, "We're going home." So we go home, and now my mom's out. So a few days later, my dad's going to take me. We're in the driveway. I start the car, and I immediately stall. Again, in my defense, I'm learning on a stick shift. That is a little more challenging. You have to get that friction point right, and it takes a while to kind of get that feeling. So anyway, I keep stalling, and my father's cursing under his breath, and I'm like, "I can hear you." And finally, I get going, and we're going in a different part of town, and we're going uphill. And so we're driving until I stall out. And I hear him exasperated. I can't even look at him because I know he's just disgusted. And so I just jam my foot on the gas, and I wind up jumping the curb and driving on someone's lawn. But the real problem is that the owner of the house, whose lawn it is mowing the lawn. So he's mowing the lawn, and I'm driving, and I'm sort of chasing him, and I really feel like I'm in a movie, and I don't know how to stop it. And I'm just like, "Oh my goodness." And then somehow again, I turn around, or the guy gets away, and my father's like, "We need to go home." And we drive home, and my father's like, "I'm out." So I'm running out of family members, but luckily I had a cousin, Matthew, who had recently graduated college, and so he offered to take me out. And he had a completely different approach. He was very patient, and he was calm. And even though he still would explain the consequences of my actions, he did so in a manner that was much more productive. So we were driving and we were by the duck pond, and he's like, now Lisa, you almost just killed a family of ducks, but you didn't. And he didn't make me go home right away. And he actually took me out many times and taught me things like there's no rules in parking lots, and how to park, and how to, all the things that you need to know to learn how to drive. I really have to thank him. So now it's my birthday, and my father and I are in the car, and he's driving, and it's the day of my driver's test. So my father's driving down Route 17 to Lodi, New Jersey, where you take the driver's test on the course. And as he's driving, he looks at me and he goes, Lisa, I hope you fail. Now, my father's such a nice guy. I don't want you to think that, but he really was just thinking about the safety of me and the rest of the residents in Bergen County. So we get to the test, and I go in with the drive instructor, and I start doing the course, and I really don't remember much. I was just so nervous, and I really sort of blanked out. I do think when I was parallel parking that I might have hit a cone, which according to New Jersey law is supposed to be an automatic failure. So we get to the end of the course, and I just look at him, and he's like, well, you passed, but you need to get some driving lessons. So I get my paperwork, my license, and I go back to the car. And my father and I have the biggest fight of our entire life because he insists that I have to drive home, and I don't want to. This whole romantic notion of me driving down the highway, blasting the Steve Miller's band with my friends is gone. I am now just this big ball of nerves behind a wheel, and I have completely lost my confidence. And he looks at me and he's like, Lisa, you're a driver, so drive. So I drive on 3 highways. I take 17 north to Route 4 east, back to 208 north, and I make it home. And I might not have been a great driver. I wasn't even a good driver, but that day, I was a driver. Thank you.
I need an update on Uncle George. Where is he now? What became of him? If we're casting him in the movie, I love that he's Harvey Firestein. It's the your dragon left. No, I definitely remember trying to learn how to drive. I think my mother was the worst possible person to help me learn how to drive because I think she was just certain I was the child that would bring about her doom and everything. Eventually, it's funny, now that my cousin also helped me, but it was her idea to be like, why don't we just take you to like an empty parking lot and we can sort this out. Cousins really come in handy when you're learning how to get behind the wheel. One more time for Lisa. All right, how are we doing, guys? You having a great time? Yes. All right, let's keep the show going. Our next storyteller, her newest show called A Baby for Me, No Thank You Please, is part of the New York Fringe Festival this April. And she also hosts a monthly story hour called We Love a Theme every 4th Tuesday at Pete's Candy Store. We've had her on before. We're so happy to have her back. Please welcome Bailey Swilley.
Okay, so I'm 16 and my grandmom has just died. Now, I would not describe my grandmom so much as a stranger as I would a friendly acquaintance. I can never really understand it, but she's always been very, very sad. She spends all of her time in her Philadelphia apartment, sitting in a lazy boy recliner, just putting back Miller Lights and just chain smoking cigarettes all day. Now, I know that is a very bleak portrait that I've painted for you, but I love going to Grandmom's house because she has a popcorn ceiling with glitter on it, And she has a staircase covered in brown shag carpeting, so I can run up and slide back down. And I'm not sure how many of you are affiliated with our depressed community, but they are the best people to sit in the dark and watch movies with all day long. And so that is what Grandmom and I do. We watch The Wedding Planner, and we watch Edward Scissorhands, and we watch Forrest Gump. And I remember being 6 years old and looking up at Grandmom and saying, "Grandmom, what's wrong with Jenny?" And Grandmom took a long drag of her cigarette and she blew out. And she said, "Jenny's got AIDS, hon." But now Grandmom is dead, and I am pissed off because I'm finally a star. I've been auditioning for plays at my high school for years and years and years, and I'm finally in a play, but I can't be in the play. I've got to go to Philadelphia for a fucking funeral. It's January, it's freezing cold, it's raining, and even though I'm not on stage, I do still get to perform because it is a Catholic funeral. And so my Bible reading is all charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. I absolutely slay, 10s across the board. After the funeral, we head to the cemetery, and the priest prays over my dead grandmom's body in a downpour of rain. When he finishes, they lower the casket down, and it jams. It's stuck. So they bring it back up again, lower it down again, it jams again, over and over and over. It just keeps jamming over and over and over. And I can tell that the priest is really freaked out and that he's never seen anything like this before. Because he says, "I'm really freaked out and I've never seen anything like this before." I look over to my mom, and she's standing with her brothers and sisters and cousins, and they're all talking about Grandma. And they're all speaking about her in a way I've never heard before. They all say, "She's pissed! She's angry at all of us. She hates all of us, and she's not going in the ground. She hates that she's dead, and she hates all of us, and we just have to stand here in the rain all day." Now, I'm shocked by what I hear because I've never known Grandmom to be this angry person they're describing. She was my movie buddy. But they are genuinely convinced that this is her ghost keeping her casket from going into the ground. Finally, they fix the hand crank. The casket goes in. And I look back at my mom again, and now she's crying. And so then I start crying. And then my dad looks at me and says, "It's good you're crying. That's your empathy." My dad is always pointing out my empathy to me. I think trying to convince himself that he's not raising an absolute sociopath. For example, one time we were watching like TLC. You know how like in the early 2000s they were always showing like surgery on TLC. So my dad and I were watching this surgery, and it was like a back surgery. And I was like, "Oh my God, my back hurts." And my dad was like, "That's your empathy." So right now, I feel anything but empathy, to be completely honest with you all. I am truly pissed that I am not back on stage with my friends. Finally, this part of the funeral is over, and before we can leave, I have to run to the cemetery bathroom. I get to the bathroom, and while I'm there, I find my period waiting for me. Now, I don't want you all to worry. This is not a first period story. I am 16 in this story, if we understand women's anatomy. So it's not my first period. But here's the thing. I don't have any supplies on me. And I'm not an idiot. I know what to do. You just take some toilet paper, and you wad it up, you shove it in your underwear, and you hold on for dear life. Here's the thing. That's not possible. Because I'm not wearing any underwear. Before this freaks you all out, thinking about 16-year-old me not wearing underwear, I need to do a visual exercise with you all. So I want everybody to close your eyes and think about the hottest women in the early 2000s. These women we're thinking Britney, we're thinking Tina, we're thinking Mariah Carey, Carmen Electra. And these ladies, you keep visualizing, they're wearing tight pants, okay? Now, do you see a panty line on any of those tight pants? Absolutely not. I cannot have visible panty line, VPL. I have to be hot at all times, even my grandmother's funeral. So no, I'm not wearing underwear. I leave the bathroom and I look everywhere for my mom. She's gonna know what to do. But the only person I see is my dad. And so I go to my dad and I say, you've got to take me to Walgreens. He's like, why? What's going on? You need Advil? And I say, no, I have, and I use coded language because he is a man. I say, I have cramps. And he says, that's your empathy. I say, no, it's not my empathy. I'm on my period. And he goes, I know what to do. So we get in the car, we go to Walgreens, and on the way there, I tell him again, now, Dad, it's got to be Walgreens because I've got to have Tampax Pearl. Because my sexually active friend Chelsea says that Tampax Pearl are the Cadillac of tampons. And that's the kind of comfort I need right now. My dad only hears one thing in that sentence, and so he looks at me and he says, you better not be having sex. And so I never do. He buys me the tampons. He buys me the tampons, honestly, so I think I stopped saying the word tampon to him. And we leave and we go back to my aunt's house to spend the night. Now, my aunt's house, it's not really important, but it is covered everywhere in NASCAR collector plates. I just thought you should know. So I go up to bed and I go to sleep. And at around 3 a.m., I wake up. And it feels like somebody is holding down my shoulders and chest and my legs, but I'm in this room all by myself. But I can feel somebody pressing down on me, and I try to sit up, but I can't. I try to call out, I try to breathe, but I can't. And I know what you're all thinking. That's sleep paralysis. Okay, sure. I look at the end of the bed, and I see Grandma. She's wearing her pink muumuu. She's angry. It's the same energy that my mom was describing with her cousins and brothers and sisters that day at the cemetery. And I can feel that same energy. It feels as if Grandma is holding down my head and pressing me down to the bottom of a pool of Miller Lite. I can feel her angry energy. The air starts to change. It kind of smells like her same brand of cigarettes. And she's holding me there until she finally lets go. And I sit up in bed, and I can feel that my face is wet. And so I look down, and there's blood all over my shirt and all over my aunt's NASCAR sheets. I'm having a nosebleed. And I remember in Sex and the City, which I am not allowed to watch, that when Miranda's ex-boyfriend, Steve, has a nosebleed, her new boyfriend, the sports medicine doctor, puts tampons in his nose to stop the bleeding. I look over to the dresser and guess what's there? The Tampax Pearl. I go over, I take out the tampons, but the whole time I'm doing this, I'm taking them out, I'm unwrapping them, I'm putting them in my nose, I can still feel Grandma in the room. And it's as if she's saying to me, I know you needed these tampons today. If you have any doubt in your mind that this is me, like, let it go, because I see you, okay? Do you see me? Her energy is so palpable, and I know that this is her, and I know she's angry, but I don't know why she's so angry. And so I start jogging my memory all through the day. I'm like, does she know that I've been watching Sex and the City? I'm like, no, that can't be it, because we watch so many things together. I'm like, maybe she knows I wasn't wearing underwear in the Catholic Church. I'm like, no, I don't think that could be it either. And then I know exactly what it is, and I know exactly what I have to do. Like the Catholics do, I say a prayer, but it's a prayer to Grandma. I say, Grandma, thank you for bringing my mom into this world, because she brought me into this world. And I'm sorry for being a dick at your funeral today. I should have focused on you and saying goodbye, but I only focused on myself. And lastly, thank you for not shielding me from the AIDS crisis when I was a child. And just like that, her ghost leaves. She's not mad at me anymore, and that is the first time I ever free a ghost. Thank you.
I too remember watching Forrest Gump as a kid, but in my case, like right over, it's like, oh, she's sick. No, it's funny. I can't help but think of like when both of my grandmothers are no longer here, and they were very sweet, lovely, religious women as well. And I'm pretty agnostic now. I don't know if I believe in God or an afterlife or whatever. But after they both died, I remember I did have this thought of like, they're gonna find out a lot. I hope we're still cool. One more time for Bailey. All right, we have one more storyteller left for you guys, but before we go there, we got a little bit of housekeeping to do here. So maybe you've been watching the show tonight, you've been listening to these fine stories, and you've thought to yourself, oh wait, that reminds me of something that happened to me when I was in high school or when I was in middle school. Hey, that's actually an interesting story. Well, you could be on our show. We are always looking for pitches. We are always looking for new storytellers to have on. We've had people on who have never told a story before, and we've helped them get ready and feel ready to take on the stage and everything. So if you have an idea for a story, that's a tripping hazard waiting to happen. If you have an idea for a story, feel free to write us a 2 or 3 sentence pitch to awkwardteenageyears@gmail.com. We're always checking. We're always looking. We may reach out. So feel free to write there. Follow us on social media to stay up to date on future shows. We're on Instagram and Facebook and Threads. Who here is on Threads? Okay, so 4 people. Great, good to know. So you guys can find us on Threads, which is just our Instagram, but it's all there. And also, a little background on the show here. So this show started back in 2020. It was me, my co-producer Will, our friend Anastasia, at the Frigid Festival. Thank you. And Lauren, who was our tech wizard then and is our tech wizard now. And for a lot of people, it was the last show they saw right before COVID hit. So, but we continued the show through live streams, and then once things started reopening, we came back to Frigid, and we've been here at Under St. Mark's ever since. So we have a backlog of all of our past shows on our YouTube channel. Feel free to check it out. You can see some of the past guests we've had on, some of the other stories that have been shared. Just look for @AwkwardTeenageYears, and you can find it all online. Thank you guys for coming tonight. We appreciate you being here. Are you ready for your final storyteller tonight? Our final storyteller is a husband, a father, a lovable rogue, the best human you've ever met. These are all things he told me to say. We're excited to have him here. Please welcome Justin D'Ambrosia.
All right, I guess. All right. There's this, make it up a little higher. There's this stupid picture my mom loves. My sister and I, at end of the year academic awards ceremony. Trophies are spilling out of our hands. And the reason I hate this picture is because none of those trophies are mine. And the only reason I'm in this picture is because my mom says, well, Jocelyn can't hold all of them. Well, look like you won some. It's not just academics that Jocelyn's better than me. It's sports, too. Not because she's good at sports, but because I'm me. In the 2nd grade, I had surgery on my eye that left me without depth perception. You know, depth perception, the thing you don't need at all for sports. And, well, it left me without depth perception. It did give me something. It gave me an eye patch. Not like a cool eye patch, but this was like, it was adhesive. It was medical. It was skin color. It was disturbing. So I was looking for something all my own, and it kind of fell into my lap one day when an organization called the Florida Singing Sons came to my school. Spelled S-O-N, not S-U-N, because the Florida Singing Sons were an all-boys choir. And they told us it was an all-boys choir because little boys' voices are more angelic than little girls, and once your voice changes, they kick you out. And they knew it would be a tough sell to get you to want to join after that weird statement. So They gave us the hard sell. They were like, we could travel internationally. You could sing at a baseball game, a national anthem. I didn't need to hear any of that. Because what I was thinking was, oh, boys, I'd like to see Jocelyn beat me in this. I immediately want to be a singing son. I get a call back. It's down at their training center. When you walk into the training center, it is intimidating because you're immediately bombarded with all their trophies and banners, and there's a bunch of comic strips of Kathy on the wall for some reason. I go to the final room for the last audition, and the director says, just want you to sing a song that everybody knows that you're comfortable with. Just going to sing the national anthem. Just one problem. I'm Canadian, and I don't know your American propaganda yet. So I think I've blown this just by being Canadian. I leave dejected. Next week at school, this kid comes to class, and he's like, I got invited to be a singing son, but I'm not going to do it because it's stupid. Oh, I hate him. I hate him, and I don't believe him. First of all, there's no way he has the voice to be a singing son, all right? And second of all, there's no way he's got the voice to be a singing son. But self-doubt starts to creep in. I mean, if the letters are out there, why haven't I gotten one? I check the mailbox obsessively every day until I finally get that letter, the singing son emblem in the mail. I rip it open and it says, congratulations, you're a singing son. And I'm like, yes! Things are about to be a lot easier for me now that I'm in an all-boys choir. I immediately let it go to my head. Because like I said, in that training center, you're bombarded with all their success, but there's also inspirational posters on the wall. And I've got a favorite. It says, singing is a sport. Requires practice, using your muscles, dedication. You are an athlete. And I'm thinking, all right, 2 years ago I was in an eye patch, and now I'm an athlete. Guess you don't need that perception. But while I'm in this exceptional choir, I'm starting to think I'm not very good, though. This may be the 98 Yankees, but I'm the last guy on the bench. And there's a lot of intimidating singers in this group. I go up against one of them for a solo, and I don't get it. I mean, his voice was angelic. And my dad can tell I'm disappointed, and to cheer me up, he says, you know, one day you might be glad there's no video of you singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I don't get it. It's the last day of junior choir. The director brings us back one-on-one for our final audition for senior choir. I'm so happy it's a one-on-one audition. I nail it. And the director looks at me afterwards, confused, and he goes, why don't you ever sing like that when I ask you to sing in front of everyone else? If you did, you wouldn't have to repeat the junior choir. I'm devastated. I don't want to go home and tell my family I'm a failure. But the fact that he says that I was good enough to be in the senior choir gives me confidence. And it makes me realize that I've let my fear, my insecurities ruin this thing that's supposed to be fun. And it is fun, you know? I'd never been much of a music fan. I've fallen in love with it now. I'd never heard the Beatles until we sang Can't Buy Me Love. And let me tell you, you've never heard Lennon until you've heard it in the dulcet tones of an all-boys choir. So I keep at it, and with my newfound confidence, I eventually make it into the senior choir. And now it's more important than ever for me to be invited on tour. First of all, they're going on tour to Prague this year. What 13-year-old boy doesn't dream of Prague? Second of all, my sister is going to Paris with the school's Polynesian dancers. No audition required. And I hear my mom on the phone talking to my grandma. I can hear the pride in her voice, and she's saying, both of my kids are going to go to Europe this year. And even though I haven't gotten the invite, I don't let it bother me because I know I'm going. So when I'm in rehearsal one day, and the director asks me to sing some scales in front of everyone, I'm thinking, this is it. This is the audition for Prague. So he plays a scale. La, 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 la. I nail it. Plays a lower one. La, 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 la. Nail that one too. But it's starting to feel weird in the room, like I'm doing something I shouldn't be. A lower one. La 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 la. Now the kid next to me is freaking out. He's like, what are you doing? Stop. What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm punching my ticket to Prague, baby. The time he plays the final scale, all I'm hearing in my head is, Prague, 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 Prague. The last note hangs there in the air. The director breaks the silence by saying, this is Justin's last performance with us. His voice has changed. So it means no Prague. It means I have to sit through this rehearsal for no reason. Dreading the car ride home. It's a carpool. My parents aren't the ones picking me up. I don't want to hear the comments from the other kids. And as I'm filing out of the training center, I see my dad there. I walk over to him, and before I can say anything, he says, I know. We know. They called us. Your mother's at home crying. Before I could say anything to that, he says, you want to go get some pizza? And I think, yeah, why the hell not? I'm not an athlete anymore.
You might want to go ahead and copyright Your Mother's at Home Crying as like your memoir title. Just to be sure. One more time for Justin. Guys, that is our show. Thank you so much for coming out. Give it up one more time for Shawn, Lisa, Maria, Bailey, Justin, Jennifer, Lauren, our tech wizard in the booth. Give it up for the staff here at Bridget. We thank you so much for coming out tonight. If you want to come to the next show, our next show will be in May. So be sure to check us out on our socials. Find out more. Again, we have a show coming in after us. So please, if you're here to see somebody, please make your way out to the sidewalk to say hi. Thank you so much again, storytellers. Let's come take a group photo. That's our show. Thank you so much, guys.